Okay, if you are not here on Word Problems Day or just need a quick refresher on word problems, we're going to go ahead and get started on page 95. The word problems we're going to start with are all about substitution. So as we solve word problems, we're going to follow these 3 steps. First, we always have to write 2 equations. Remember, in our equations, we will have x and a y. We will then solve the equations using the best method. I'm telling you for these ones that the best method is substitution. And then we're going to kind of mentally check our solution. I don't actually require that you write something for that. For number 1, Max collects baseball and football cards. The number of baseball cards is 10 more than twice the number of football cards. Altogether, Max has 70 cards. How many of each type of card does he have? So the very first thing we need to do is figure out what are the 2 things going on in this problem. So just from reading the problem, I know that we have 2 types of cards. We have baseball and football cards. So since I read baseball first, that's going to be my X. And I'm lazy, so I'm just going to write X is baseball. And then I see football second, and so Y is going to be my football cards. Then what we always want to put in our notes are any totals that we find. So I see that Max altogether has 70 cards. So right away, I should be able to recognize that that is going to be one of my totals because that's the total amount of cards that he has. And I'm going to write that in my notes. I don't see any other totals in this word problem. And that right there indicates that this is a substitution word problem. There's only one total, meaning that we're only going to have one equation with X and Y on the same side. So let's start with that equation actually. So I'm going to have 70 as my total, starting with that. Excuse me. I know that the amount of baseball cards he has and the amount of football cards are going to equal that 70. So this equation is just going to be X plus Y equals 70. This is a type of equation that you're going to see a lot when you have a total of something. And you're just going to have to add the X and Y together to get to that total. Now I see this sentence saying the number of baseball cards is 10 more than twice the number of football cards. So let's pull that apart, and this is kind of where translating is going to help us out. Baseball cards is, we know that baseball cards is X, and we know the word is means equal. The rest of that says 10 more than, so more than switches my order, so I have plus 10, twice the number of football cards, so twice football cards. Now using the substitution method, we're going to go ahead and solve. So I'm going to take this information and plug it in for X. So I now have 2Y plus 10 plus Y equals 70. Solving for Y, I have 3Y plus 10 equals 70. 3Y equals 60. So Y equals 20. Just like we did when we learned our substitution notes, we're going to take that Y equals 20 and plug it in to find X. So I have X equals 2 times 20 plus 10. So X equals 40 plus 10, and X equals 50. The last thing we have to do, just like we've been doing all units so far, is write our final answer. So I have 50, and this is where our units come into play. 50 baseball cards and 20 football cards. Okay. So now we're just going to kind of mentally check to make sure that works. So I'm going to plug in 50 for X, 20 for Y. So 50 plus 20 is 70, just like our first equation says. And then our second equation, we're going to plug in that 20 for Y. So I have 2 times 20 is 40, plus 10 is 50. So they both check out. We're good to go. Now moving down to number 2. Shannon has a collection of quarters and half dollars. She has 12 more quarters than half dollars. The total amount in her collection is $13.50. How many of each coin does she have? First thing I want to review, this seems silly, but each coin and the decimal amount. The reason I want to do this is because for a penny, a lot of students write 0.1, but it's 0.01. And for a nickel, a lot of students write 0.5, but it is 0.05. So I'm just going to write this at the bottom. This is also what we did in class, just so that we kind of have that refresher and we have it written down in front of us. And I skipped the dime. So we'll go back to the dime. And then you'll see half dollar sometimes. That's actually 0.5. And then obviously a dollar is just 1. So up here in our notes, this information down below is going to help us. I'm going to scroll up so we can see the problem. Right away when we read this problem, hopefully we saw quarters and half dollars as the two things we're comparing. So I'm going to put X is my quarters. And then underneath that, I'm going to put that that's 25 cents. That's going to come in handy later. Y is my half dollars. And again, that's 50 cents or 0.5. And any totals that I see, the only total I see is my monetary total there of $13.50. So we're going to start with this total as our equation. Whenever you have a money problem and your total is money, you need to have money in the left side of your equation as well. So by that I mean we're going to have 0.25x because every quarter is worth 25 cents plus 0.5y. And then together, all of that is going to equal $13.50. So the amount of quarters we have times the price of a quarter. Amount of half dollars we have times the price of a half dollar will equal that $13.50. Our second equation comes from this sentence that we have, 12 more quarters than half dollars. This sentence throws a lot of us off because it seems backwards when we write it in our equation. She has 12 more quarters, meaning she has more quarters. I know that sounds redundant, but since she has more quarters, I know it's going to be an x equals equation because the amount of half dollars she has plus 12 is going to equal the amount of quarters she does actually have. Go ahead and solve this one by yourself. Pause the video. Okay, check to see how you did. Hopefully we got that x is 26 and y is 14. If we did not, double check your math because there's a lot of decimals moving on in there. You are allowed a calculator on the test, so you're welcome to use one as you're going through the notes as well. If you did not get this one right, pause the screen and check to see how your work is different than mine because we're going to go ahead and move on. The next type of word problems we'll have is elimination, just like we've been learning. We had substitution, then elimination. And the process to do this is exactly the same, still writing the two equations, using the elimination method to solve, and then mentally just checking to make sure that it works out. So for number 3, Kenny has 24 coins, some are nickels and the rest are dimes. If he has $1.50 in all, how many of each kind does he have? Another money problem. So I see nickels first, then I see dimes. So X is going to be nickels. And those are 5 cents. Y is going to be dimes. And those are 10 cents or 0.1. Now let's look and see if we have any totals. I know I'm going to at least have one, hopefully. The first total I see is that he has 24 coins. Then I also see that he totals $1.50. So I have two totals. That right there indicates that I have elimination because X and Y are going to be on the same side, equal to our numbers. So I'm going to start with that 24. He has 24 coins in all. So this kind of goes back to that first problem we did. The amount of nickels plus the amount of dimes we have equals 24. So this first equation is just X plus Y. Now we're going to move on to our second total, which is $1.50. Since there's money in your answer, then we need money in our problem. So I'm going to have that 0.05x plus that 0.1y equaling to that 150. X and Y are on the same side. The X's are stacked, the Y's are stacked. So now I'm going to go ahead and solve. I showed you guys in class a little trick that we learned from one of our other students. But if we multiply this whole second equation by 100, we can actually get rid of our decimals. So I'm going to go ahead and do that because it's going to be friendlier when I go to eliminate. So I have 5x plus 10y equals 150. I'm going to go ahead and eliminate my x's. So I need to multiply this whole top equation by -5. So I end up with -5x minus 5y equals 24 times 5 is -120. Add those up. X's go away, so I'm left with 5y equals 30. So y equals 6. Plug that information in. And so I'm just going to have x plus 6 equals 24. So x equals 18. And my very final answer is 18 nickels and 6 dimes. Check to make sure that it mentally works, and I promise you it does. All right, number 4, we're going to set it up together and you'll finish solving it by yourself, just like we did the other one. And then we only have one more problem we're going to do together on this video. So number 4, one day Phil purchased 5 loaves of bread and 3 muffins for a total of $8. A few days later, he purchased 2 loaves of bread and 6 muffins from the same store for a total of $5.60. What is the price of a single loaf of bread and a single muffin? Okay, so X here are going to be loaves of bread. Y are going to be my muffins. And then I see 2 situations happening here. And so I do see 2 totals. My first total is the $8, and my second total is the $5.60. When I set these problems up, this one's going to look a little different. And it's just because I have 2 situations, and so the information from the first outing to the store is going to be one equation, and then the information in the second will be my second equation. So I have 5 loaves, so 5x plus 3 muffins equals $8. And then his second trip, he has 2 loaves and 6 muffins equaling $5.60. All right. Oops. Go ahead and solve these or solve this system using elimination and come on back to check your work. All right, check to see if you got $1.30 per loaf of bread and 50 cents per muffin. If you did not get these answers, pause the video to check and see where you went differently in your math. The last problem I want us to do is number 6 on the next page. So we are on page 97. Oops, sorry. The reason I want us doing this one is it is just worded a little differently. So we're going to, again, set it up together. You'll finish solving it by yourself. If you want to go ahead and try it by yourself, please feel free to do so. All right, twice the first number increased by the second number equals 11. The second number is equivalent to 9 less than 3 times the first number. Find the two numbers. So this one sounds just yucky, all right? So let's piece it apart. First off, the two things we have going on are our two numbers. X is going to be the first number, and Y is going to be the second number. Do I have any totals? I see 1 because it says equals 11. All right, so let's go ahead and piece apart, if you want to do it with me. Piece apart that first sentence. Twice the first number increased by the second number equals 11. So twice the first number, 2x, increased by plus the second number, y, equals 11. Now it says the second number is. So y is, remember, means equal. The second number is equivalent to, so that helps you out as well too, equivalent to 9 less than, don't forget that that does change your order, so it's minus 9, 3 times the first number, so 3x. We're no longer telling you what method to use, so you have to be able to look at the word problem or the notes and equations and be able to figure out what type of method to solve. So hopefully we notice that we're going to use substitution to solve this problem by plugging in this information for y. Go ahead and solve this on your own, and let's see if we get the same answer. Okay, so hopefully we got x is 4 and y is 3. There are not any units for this since they are just numbers. If you really want, you could write 4 is the first number and 3 is the second number, but I will leave that part up to you. 4, 3 is perfectly fine. All right, the rest of the word problems, all of the work and answers are in the completed flip chart from Word Problems Day, so feel free to attempt those and double check to see how you did. All right, get that homework done, do some practice problems, and comment on Google Classroom if you still have questions. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy the snow.